to see me, his best, oldest, and only friend. And here's a picture of him coming upon the house of Usher. And my cat's here, so sorry if he does weird things or makes noises. Hi, baby. Hi, my baby. Okay. He might have to get kicked out. Can you see what he's doing? No, I can't. Okay. Anyways. He hoped that his health would improve with my cheerful company. The only answer I could possibly give was to go at once to his home. Roderick Usher had always been a quiet person who talked little of himself, so I didn't know too much about him. Yet I did know that his family was an old one. Many of his ancestors had been famous for their artistic and musical abilities. Others were known for their exceptional generosity and charity. In the part of the country where he lived, the house of Usher had come to mean both the family and the ancestral mansion. Now, on this dark autumn evening, I was approaching the house of Usher. It was a melancholy looking building, and I looked on it with icy sinking of the heart. The walls were gray and bleak, covered only by a string-like web of moss, and other clinging plants. I looked at the vacant eye-like windows and at the few white, bare trunks of decaying trees that stood in the damp, swampy ground. And it says, traveling through a dreary countryside. The damp, swampy ground surrounding the old house. And I looked at the house. It seemed to me that it was being wrapped in a strange, vaporous cloud. A mystic fog seemed to rise from the decaying trees and the nearby swamp until it covered the gray stone walls. Yet, the walls stood upright and perfect. Only a few stones were crumbling. A closer look, however, disclosed the tiniest sliver of crack, zigzagging its way down from the roof. The crack went right down the wall's foundation, ending under the damp, swampy earth. Noticing these things, I went up the short road to the house. A servant met me and took my horse, and I entered an arched hallway. Another servant led me to my friend. We walked silently through many dark and winding passages. I noticed carved ceilings, gloomy tapestries on the walls, and black wooden floors. On a staircase, I met the family physician, who introduced himself to me. He hesitated strangely, looking somewhat evil, while at the same time frightened, then continued on his way. And this picture says a crack zigzags down from the roof. There's a crack. At last, the servant threw open the door, and I saw my friend resting on a chair. Certainly no man had ever changed so greatly in few years than had Roderick Usher. He had always been thin, with a pale, narrow face and his large eyes, but now his face was ghostly and his eyes too bright. His silken hair had grown and not been trimmed, so it now floated wildly about his face, making it look even thinner. And here's a picture of poor old Roderick Usher. He began to talk about his illness. He said it ran in his family, a nervous ailment with strange and contradictory symptoms but no cure. His body was so extremely sensitive that only the softest clothing could touch his skin, only the blandest food could tempt him, only the faintest light could glow without injuring his eyes. He could not bear the odor of any flower, and was filled with horror by all sounds except for the gentlest music played by a strange instrument. He was also plagued by strange terrors. I dread the future, he said. I shudder at the thought of any coming event. I feel that I will lose my life and reason together in some uncanny struggle with a grim fantasy. I know that fantasy to be fear. He talked on, telling me also some superstitions about his mansion that filled him with terror. He could not describe them other than to say gloomy forms of the walls and the turrets and the swamps seemed to be affecting his spirit. Yet for some unexplained reason he had not been able to bring himself to leave his ancestral home for many years. And this is Usher describes his illness. There he is, telling him all about it. Then he went on to explain that his gloomy spirit was further burdened by the severe and incurable illness of his beloved sister Madeline. She was his sole companion and his last and only relative on earth. Her death, he said bitterly, would leave me the last of the ancient family of the Ushers. While he spoke, Madeline entered through one door at the far end of the room and disappeared through another without even noticing my presence. I stared at her in astonishment and dread, though I know not why. When I turned back to her brother, I saw his face buried in his hands and passionate tears trickling through his emaciated fingers. Madeline's illness, he informed me, had quite puzzled her physicians. She had lost interest in everything. She was wasting away to a shadow, and for long periods of time she would stand quite still, unmoving for hours. This is Madeline enters. Later that evening, my friends sadly informed me that Madeline had been bedridden with exhaustion and with deterioration and emaciation caused by her disease. Therefore, the glimpse I had gotten of her would probably be the last I would get, at least while she was living. After telling me these things, why would you get more glances of her when she was not living? After telling me these things, Roderick Usher talked no more of his sister. In the next few days, I tried earnestly to cheer my friend. We read together, or listened to his wild strumming on the guitar, his fingers causing it to speak in an unearthly tone. Usher had also inherited the artistic talents of his ancestors. I watched as he painted. He worked feverishly, painting several canvases in succession. One of his paintings in particular stays in my mind. It was a small picture showing only the inside of a very long rectangular tunnel with walls smooth and white. The design showed this tunnel to be far below the surface of the earth. There was no window, no opening or torch to produce any source of light, yet the scene seemed just as bright as though it was lit by rays of splendid hidden sun. How strange! And then this is him wild strumming on the guitar. You see it? Good old Roderick. We talk during the day. We talk during those days of many things. Usher confided in me that he had an idea of the things, even plants and stones, had knowledge and purpose for being, just as animals and humans' lives have. I was sure that those ideas were proof of his disordered mind until I heard his next statement. The proof, dear friend, the proof of what I have said is this. You have seen the swamp that surrounds the walls. There is a cloud, an atmosphere rising from the swamp, swirling around the house. It engulfs the walls, it presses upon them. I looked up with a start, for this was the very thought that had overcome me when I approached the old mansion. Here's this strange painting of a tunnel. Roderick continued. The atmosphere rises from the swamp to press on me. Thus, it influences, shapes, and molds me and my life, just as it has molded the destinies of my family through the ages. I heard these words with a shudder. I was glad when my friend got off the subject and returned to his books. So, the days passed. One evening, my friend informed me that his sister, Madeline, was no more. My dear friend, I'm terribly sorry to hear this, I began, but he interrupted me, as though my condolences he had not heard. I intend, he said, to preserve her body for 2 weeks before burial. The physicians have been too curious about her strange illness. They might wish to make further examinations. I fear they might get to her body if we put her into the grave now. But if we wait a while, they will not know when or where we have buried her. And where do you plan to do that, my friend? I asked. This is him saying, I intend to preserve her body. The family burial grounds are quite far away, but there are compartments within thick stone walls of that. There are compartments within the thick stone walls of the house. His voice trailed off. He was lost in thought. An unusual decision, I thought. But if that evil-looking physician I had passed on my arrival was the one who might disturb Madeline's rest, then Roderick's precaution was wise. When Madeline's body had been placed in the coffin, Usher and I alone carried it to its temporary tomb. This was a vault or a compartment in the foundation walls of the mansion. It was small, damp, and without any light. It was directly under the room which I was staying. In ancient times, it has served as a dungeon. Centuries later, it was used to store gunpowder, and the walls, floor, and even the heavy iron door were covered in sheets of copper to keep out dampness. I noted particularly the sharp grating sound made by this door as it moved slowly upon its hinges. We carry Madeline's coffin to the tombs. Creepy. We placed our mournful burden upon wooden stands inside this vault. The coffin lid was not yet fastened. We opened it to look once more at the face of first time I noticed the striking resemblance between the brother and sister. My friend, perhaps guessing my thoughts, murmured something about there having been twins. He said that strange understandings had always existed between them, secret understandings unknown to anyone else. But we couldn't bear to look upon her for long. Her illness left the faint redness on her face and suspicious lingering smile on her lips, a smile which is terrible in death. We replaced the coffin lid and screwed it down. Then we left the vault, fastening the iron door behind us. We went upstairs into the upper portion of the house. This was almost as gloomy as the vault we had left. One last look at Madeline Usher. As the days passed, a change came over my grieving friend. No more did he play his guitar, paint, or even read. Instead, he roamed constantly from room to room with hurried but purposeless steps. His face became, if possible, more pale and ghastly. His once bright eyes became dull. He spoke with a nervous tremor, which seemed to come from some unknown terror. There were times I thought he struggled for the courage to confide to me a terrible secret. Then the moment would pass. At other times, I became convinced it was his madness, for he stared into space for hours. He seemed to be listening to some imaginary sound. His condition terrified me, and then it infected me. I felt myself coming under the spell of the nameless terrors and the superstitions that so profoundly affected him. The feeling grew upon me gradually. It reached its full power about a week after we had placed Lady Madeline in the dungeon. It was a stormy night. I could not sleep. Here's Usher stares into space for hours. He's just staring out the window. I lay awake as the dark hours passed. I tried to use my reason to get rid of the nervousness that came over me. I tried to tell myself that the gloomy furniture of my room and the dark draperies, they must be the cause of the oppressive feeling that lay upon me. But the terror would not leave me. Instead, it seemed to settle on me more heavily. I tried again to rid myself of its weight. I sat up in bed and listened to the sounds of the night. Through the storm, I heard strange, low, faint sounds. Then they ceased, only to begin again after a few minutes. I was overcome by a strange sense of horror. I knew I would sleep no more that night, so I rose and hastily dressed. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. You are a baby, you are a baby, you are a baby. What's that down? What's that down? Okay. I knew I would sleep no more that night, so I rose and hastily dressed. I tried now to get rid of the dread feelings by pacing the floor. I had taken only a few turns in this manner when I heard a step in the corridor. In an instant, Usher was rapping at my door. He stared He stared about the room silently for some minutes. Then he spoke. Unable to sleep. Stop. If you continue attacking me, I'm going to send you away. You're going to have to go downstairs. You cannot do that to me. Okay? Have some attention. Is that what you want? You want the attention? Yes. No attacking. Here you go. go, baby. There you go, baby. What do you think? Are you okay now? Can you leave me so I can read? My friends want to hear that. They want to hear the book. Okay, where was I? Oh, here he is. Unable to sleep. Stop it. You have not seen it? He asked. You have not, but you shall. With that, he hurried to a window and opened it to the storm. A furious gust of wind entered and nearly lifted us off our feet. It was a tempestuous yet strangely beautiful night. Clouds hung thickly about the turreted roof of the house. The wind blew in violent gusts, pausing now and again. The clouds were tossed about, coming together and then being blown apart before our eyes. The lower surfaces of the moving clouds and the tree trunks all about the house were bathed in an eerie glow, yet no moon shone, no stars twinkled, no lightning flashed. Then what was this strange, unnatural light? What then was this strange, unnatural light that seemed to be circling about the old mansion? You must not, you shall not watch this, I said with a shudder to Usher. I led him firmly away from the window to a chair. These wild visions, these are simply electrical phenomena from the storm, or perhaps they rise from the swamp. I'll close the window. The air is too chilly and damp for you. Yes, Usher opens up the window to the storm. I did so, and he did not protest. Now, I said, picking up the nearest book, I will read to you, and so will pass this stormy night. The story was of an old adventure tale. The hero, Ethelred, set out to do battle with an evil hermit, I read. Arriving at the hermit's door, Ethelred lifted his sword and struck several blows in the wooden planks, cracking and ripping them apart. As I finished that sentence, my breath suddenly caught in my throat. I paused. It seemed to me, or was it my imagination, that some remote part of the house came an exact sound like the one I had just described, a cracking and ripping of wood. Probably the storm, I thought, and continued, returning to the story. Inside the house, there was no sign of the hermit. Either Ethelred saw before him a scaly dragon with a tongue on fire. Probably the storm, I thought, and returned to the story. Inside the house, there was probably the storm, I thought, and returned to the story. Inside the house, there was no sign of the hermit. Instead, Ethelred saw before him a scaly dragon with a tongue of fire. This is reading to pass the night. The dragon was sitting guard before a palace of gold with a floor made of silver. And Ethelred lifted up his sword and struck the head of the dragon. It fell. As it fell, the beast gave forth a horrible and piercing shriek. At these words, there came to my ears a low and distant cry. It was a screaming or grating sound, very like the dragon shriek of which I had just read. But this cry was not my imagination. I did hear it. The nameless terror I had felt in my sleepless bed earlier in the evening came over me again. I was concerned for the nervous state of my friend, and I tried not to excite him. Perhaps he had not heard the distant cry. Perhaps I had imagined it. But a strange change came over him. We had been sitting facing each other, but now he turned his chair away from me and faced towards the door. His lips were trembling, his head was dropping to his chest, and his eyes were open wide. This is hearing the distant shriek. In this position, he was swaying from side to side. To take his attention from whatever he might have heard, I began to hastily read again. And now Ethelred pulled the dragon's body out of the way. Bravely he approached the castle, walking over the silver pavement. Over the castle doorway hung an enchanted shield of brass, the prize for anyone brave enough to kill the dragon. As Ethelred approached, the shield fell down at his feet upon the silver floor with a mighty, great, and terrible ringing sound. No sooner had these words passed my lips than I became aware of another sound. It was distant, hollow, metallic sound. Completely unnerved, I leapt to my feet, but Usher seemed undisturbed. He was still swaying gently from side to side, his eyes staring at nothing. I rushed to him and placed my hand over his shoulder to soothe him. A shudder came over. He's soothing a poor Usher. A shudder came over his entire body, and he began to speak in a low, hurried murmur, unaware that I was even there. Not hear it? Yes, I hear it, and I have heard it, he said through quivering lips. Long, many minutes, many hours, many days have I heard it, yet I dare not. Oh, pity me, miserable wretch that I am. I dare not speak. We have put her living in the tomb. I told you how sensitive I have become in my illness. Many days ago I heard her first feeble movements in the coffin, yet I dared not speak. And now tonight, Ethelred, the breaking of the hermit's door, the death cry of the dragon, the clanging of the brass shield as it fell, what they really were the breaking of her coffin lid, the grating of the iron door of her prison, and her struggling to get out of the copper vault. Oh, where can I fly? She will soon be here to punish me for burying her before she was dead. Even now I hear her footsteps on the stairs. Even now I hear the horrible beating of her heart. This is him freaking out. We put her living in the tomb. At this, he sprang furiously to his feet. Madman, he shrieked. Madman, I tell you, she now stands outside this door. At his last words, the huge antique door opened slowly. From what? From a rushing gust of wind. And there, standing in the doorway, was the shrouded figure of Madeline of Usher. There was blood upon her white robes, and the evidence of a bitter struggle was upon every inch of her body. For a moment she stood trembling in the doorway. Then, with a slow moaning cry, she flew to her brother and threw herself violently upon him. With a cry of final death agony, she dragged him with her to the floor, a corpse. Roderick Usher was dead, a victim of the terrors he himself had foreseen. In my own terror, I fled from the room and from that mansion. The storm was still raging as I found myself on the road. Here's Madeline dragging Usher to the floor. Should have made sure she was dead first. Suddenly, a wild light flashed across the path in front of me. I turned to see where it came from, for behind me was only the vast house and its shadows. Then I saw where the strange light was coming from. It was the blood-red light of a full setting moon. It glowed through a crack in the wall of the house, the same zigzagging crack I had noticed on my arrival, the crack that zigzagged its way from the roof to the end of the damp, swampy earth. When I gazed, this crack rapidly widened. Suddenly, a fierce gust of wind, a whirlwind, burst upon the house.
My brain reeled as I saw the once mighty walls come crashing down. I heard the tumultuous shoutings, like the roaring voice of 1,000 oceans. I stood there frozen, gazing in awe as the tumbling walls began to sink. Then the deep swamp at my feet closed angrily and silently over the fragments of the house of Usher. That's it. The once mighty walls came crashing down.